Hi, this is Zen and Lindsay from Antiqva.
And you're watching Metal Robot Reviews.
Initializing. Welcome to Metal Robot Reviews.
Welcome to the Metal Robot Reviews channel. I'm your host, Tom McKay. Antiqva is a chamber black metal band that reminds me and all of us that God really is dead and blackness will forever be minuscule as that amorphous blight at the nethermost confusion slumbers outside the ordered universe. And as he slumbers, I can feel the walls of reverbed instruments and the maddening beat of blast beats crush the light all around me until there is nothing left but the droning monotonous whine of accursed strings and a small, peanut-sized fleshy mess of what was once a human spawn. Sorry, I blacked out for a second. I don't know why that happened. I gotta stop drinking whiskey before bed, guys. It's really not that good for me. But where was right? Oh, I gotta forget. Of course, Antiqva is here. On behalf of Antiqva, we're here speaking with Lindsay Schoolcraft and Zen War, aka Zen, about anything aside from what happens when I drink whiskey before bed. Guys, how are you doing?
Still recovering.
I didn't know our music had that effect on people.
Lindsay, thanks for coming on the show for a third time. You have officially reached Metal Robot tenure. Congrats. And you also have video this time, so which is great because I don't have to do weird Lindsay Skullcraft animation for 12-minute videos. Bless. Yes. Thank you for coming on. And also, by the way, while we're here, because this is I think this is the first time I'm officially saying it, congrats on the Omaze Award. Fantastic. Well deserved.
Thanks, guys. It's literally my shiny object is sitting right here.
Yeah,
it looks quite hefty.
It can seriously do some damage. Like this shit's sharp, and this like I could scrape my ice off my car windshield in the winter with this bad boy. Like it's intense, but thank you.
I think that's the most Canadian answer I've ever heard of. And Zen, welcome to the show, all the way from I believe you're still in Melbourne, Australia, correct?
Yeah. All the way from there. So it is the morning. However, this is coffee and not whiskey. So between protests and earthquakes, I'm doing pretty well.
And this is your first time here on the show. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, it's always good to have a new experience, I guess. What's life without a little risk?
Oh, you're going to be glad you said that, Zen. I promise you that. So for the lovely viewers who are watching this video who don't already know who any of you guys are for whatever reason, tell us more about you guys as the band Antiqva, or even as well as yourselves individually.
Oh, Lord. Zen, you want to go first on that?
Well... I'm from, my main band is Naval of Scaris, and I have another project called Omega Infinity, both kind of extreme metal in some form or another. And Lindsay and I met some years ago when she was playing with Cradle of Filth, and from there we kind of decided to... we wanted a little to explore other avenues, and so we kind of came up with the idea of forming Antiqva. And I'm sure Lindsay will kind of fill you in on the journey from there.
Well, where do I begin? I mean,
mine's the short version.
Short version. Hey, I'm from here. We met here. Please continue, please.
Yeah, continue. Like, where do I? Dude, the struggle is real. Okay, so I'm Lindsay. Hi, and for those who don't know, I'm a musician from Oshawa, Canada. Doing the thing, winning awards that you can scrape ice with. No. So, anyways, I'll stop.
Living the dream.
Stop being a pain in the ass. Zen and I met back in 2013. When Cradle came through Melbourne. It was a very brief meeting. And then Zen reached out and wanted to stay in touch, asked me to start a project, absolutely rejected him.
As I've said before, I have no recollection. It's like some repressed memory or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was like, I had imposter syndrome, but it was more of like I said I was too busy, which Cradle was a lot. It was demanding.
It's like, hey, you want to start a band? No, actually, I can't. It's like,
Okay, I'll book you for Monday then.
See, the reason why this band is still going is because I still have I can't remember that at all. So,
what? As far as I know, she never said no. No's not in anyone's vocabulary around me, so it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's shocking some days that he still talks to me, but I digress. But we kept in touch, and then all of a sudden we were touring together, and we just became like BFF. And we're like, he's like, I want to do black metal, and I'm like, I fucking love black metal, but I want to do like more classical based stuff. And we're just like, we should start a band, and it's been 6 very long years, but we're finally making it work. That's the important part.
With just the two of you here so far, I as everyone knows here by this point, this band is not just you two fantasy creatures, one elf and one blood-sucking demon of the night. Tell us more about who's in the band, what roles do they play, and whether they are also dark, scary creatures of the night.
Is that my job?
Yeah.
We got Fabian in on guitars, and he's been really a dream to work with. I love his style. He really has something that he brings to the table that I haven't really heard from other black metal bands. And he is part of Negator from Germany. So he has some experience, and he's just a real treat to work with and write with. And then we brought in Justine Etier on drums. Now she's best known for being in Blackguard and Chaos. And she's been very, how do I put this, very critical to what we have going on, because not only is she just like a fantastic drummer and incredible to see live, she also has her classical credentials. So she's extremely well pronounced in like harmony, counterpoint, plain chant, stuff like that. She brings a lot to the table. So she's pretty much like, she doctors everything I do because I didn't finish my classical education. So having her there is really, it's so incredibly helpful. And then from there, we had quite a time finding a bassist. But then we landed on Memnock, and it's really great and cool because like he's a big part of black metal's history. I'm blanking. What band was it again, Zen? Was it Old Man's Child?
Yeah, he's kind of played bass, helped with bass on Old Man's Child, and I believe he's played for, as I guess whether it's live or whatever, like Borknagar, and I think maybe Emperor at some stage from memory.
Even a little bit.
But he was currently, he was in Suspiria. He's from Norway as well, and he has his own project, which is kind of a very huge kind of monstrothic doom band. So he plays bass and also contrabass.
Yeah, so he was like perfect for this project. And then we got in July on cello, which Zen kind of brought the idea to me. I feel like you had this like planned for a very long time, and it was just kind of like how you were going to present it. But
no, it was more about coming to terms with it, because July had played. We toured with The Ocean, where she was a session player for The Ocean. So they toured around. So Neighbourless Ghost toured with them at some stage, and then I kind of brought up the idea that I was starting a project and I needed a cellist. And so she kind of thought that she might be interested. And at that point, I'd been a big fan of a band called a theatrical kind of presentation called Dirty Granny Tales, which is a very it combines kind of acoustic, almost chamber-esque type music with twisted vocals and puppets. And so she'd been a project of that as well. And so I hadn't known at the time that she was actually part of it. So that just made it even more interesting to have her involved, getting that different kind of element into our sound. And so presenting, I can't even remember how I presented it to you, Lindsay. I think I might have just said, well, I know a cellist.
I think literally we both were talking about how much we loved the instrument, because I played it for a few years, failed miserably, sold it to get my harp. But I was like, I love the cello. And you're like, well, I know a cellist. Why don't we bring in like a solo cellist into the band? And I'm like, I'm not against this. And then all of a sudden you had someone. And I'm like, wait a minute, you
Just have someone in my back pocket.
Yeah, literally. I was like, okay, she's really more melding into the newer stuff that we're writing right now. And I love what she's bringing to the table. So she's also been really essential to what we got going on. And then we also have Andy Thomas from Black Run Initiate. He's doing guitars as well, and his vocals, his epic vocals. So yeah, having him on board has made the journey interesting with his sense of humor. But he's great. I really enjoy like singing along with him. I mean, let's be real. I just put Funeral Crown on loop on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I just sing all the backing harmonies. You know, I am learning your lyrics then. I am
Sure.
finally learning your lyrics.
So I can, so now and then I can sit backstage and you can sing them for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem.
Lindsay, I think you just got promoted. Nice.
I didn't ask for this.
How is your demon growls, by the way, Lindsay? Can you do demon growls? Is that something you could do?
You know, it's really unfortunate.
Since it's like, oh, here we fucking go.
No, go ahead, Zan. You say it first.
Well, there might be something she's involved in coming up at some point in the future where she might do a little bit of experimenting.
Okay, let's talk. Let's take a look at what you guys have put out thus far as the group. So, Funeral Crown, which still gives me Lovecraftian nightmares as I drift to sleep every night. Nice. Good job. And recently, you put out the new song Anadem Gyre, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is still going to give me Lovecraftian nightmares, but of a different breed, I might say. The reason why I bring up that latest single, though, is because in a press release you guys put out, you guys mentioned that this quote, dark folk elements that we heard on the song, infused into our chamber black metal backbone, is what to expect on our debut album. So, tell me more about that. And also, tell me more about the vast interest in Romanian folklore and, according to the press release again, their tongues.
Well, first off, when we were writing the music, when Lindsay and I were discussing things, we kind of thought about implementing, we want to implement chants and that sort of thing. So we discussed the idea of doing Latin, as, most bands are doing these days. And we kind of thought that, Latin is one thing. And then at some point I thought about English, but then that was probably sound quite terrible doing it. And then Lindsay brought up the idea of doing Romanian. And because Romanian was quite different, and we both kind of have ties to Romania. Like Lindsay has some Romanian background, and I have quite a love for the country itself. And so we thought, let's do something in Romanian, make it a little different. It has a rich kind of culture that's pretty much untapped by most other bands in the world, where everyone's doing something Scandinavian orientated, and we kind of wanted to steer away from that because Scandinavian mythology and all that sort of thing as well is something that is quite overdone at the moment, in my opinion. I love that sort of thing, but doing something different and something that's is pretty much untouched for the most part. And so we thought, okay, we'll focus a lot on the Romanian aspect and use Romanian lyrics within pretty much all our songs. So we thought we'll try that and then see how that goes. And we did the first two songs, and despite that being a very arduous process in terms of trying to get translated and that sort of thing, at the end of the day, I think it works really well for what we're doing.
It was a process. It was like nothing comes easy to us. That's kind of like the rule on this band. Everything has to be a challenge, which isn't like a bad thing. It keeps us on our toes and it keeps us focused.
If it's easy, then it probably feels like there's something wrong.
Exactly. If things go right, it's like, wait, something's wrong. So, I mean, with this track, like just to give a little bit of a background on it before we talk about the album, it was really strange. Zen, I don't remember how you presented it, but you were mentioning something about like, okay, we have Funeral Crown coming out. We were like gearing up to go into the studio and record it last year during the pandemic. And I think because of the time difference, you sent me a text and you're like, hey, I had an idea. It was something along the lines of, do you think we could do something as a B-side for this single? It would just be more laden chants and kind of tribal sounding with drums, right? I think that's how you said it, something like that.
Yeah, I wanted something a little bit different as opposed to like another full-on kind of metal track. Just a different element that I wanted to kind of put into our sound with kind of to give it more of, I guess, guess, an overall depth and kind of meaning to everything, as opposed to, an overall kind of metal thing. So
Kind of show like the two sides of the band, basically.
yeah, ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, based more in the chant. So I woke up at like 6 because my cats usually wake me up, and I read this text and I was like, I'm too tired for this right now. I'm going back to bed. So then I start dreaming
Rushed off again.
and the rejection, what can I say? It runs deep. No, I fall asleep. And all
Maybe
of a
that's
sudden,
why I'm in this band. I'm a sucker for punishment.
It's in the
Wow.
roots of this
Yes.
band. It's dug
Yeah.
deep.
it's okay. It was for all those years, I'd like text you, and you'd take 6 months to get back to me or something. So like it goes both
Fair.
ways. Okay.
Fair.
Tom, your face says it all. I fell asleep, and as I was like thinking about, because I was thinking I'm like falling asleep, I'm like too tired for this. Fuck, he wants for right now. They're fucking song. Fuck, and I'm falling asleep, and then in my dream, pretty much the first 2 minutes of the song, like the da 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 da, that started going through. Like I was writing the song while I was asleep and dreaming, and then the da 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 da, that whole middle section. 8 o'clock rolls around, and I have to roll out of bed, and I just like it was like out of a cartoon. It's just like tear off the covers and go turn on the computer and pull out the microphone and just started writing the song until about midday, and then I think he would have been asleep at the time. I sent him a demo. I'm like,
oh, this is what happened.
so it just kind of came together really easily, because like once we had the chance, then we knew, okay, we can add in the strings. Like I drew in some really shitty, simple strings, and then it's like getting the beat, and then it just all kept building from there. So
I mean, yeah, you came up with everything. Then I kind of wanted to, I think ultimately decide to put it into structure. So the song ultimately is in about 3 parts. And so as the song kind of flowed along with what Lindsay was doing, kind of adding things and creating kind of a 3-step kind of program almost, just building it as it goes along to implement the different aspects of it. Because, it's one, I can't necessarily contribute in terms of growling and all that for something that's so kind of acoustic. So you can kind of build things up to implement, give it more of a kind of darker, more intense feeling as it goes along. And kind of at the end of it, you've got basically every instrument from Funeral Crown kind of in your end resulting song, which is Anadem Gyre.
And through that process, like Zen, before we even presented it to the band, you were helping with arranging, like, okay, we need a break here, we need this build here, da da da. So then when we presented it to the band, they were just kind of like, oh, this is sick. Like, let's just add in our part. So it actually came together really quickly. I think over the span of not even a few weeks, it was so quick. So yeah, that's how this weird little song came to be. And then earlier this year, we had some funds available, and Zen loves doing music videos. So he was like, I really want to do a music video. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm so repressed. Repressed in my other bands. It's, if any of my band from Neo watch this, we have one kind of music video from, 3 albums. So I'm trying to make up for lost time in all my other areas.
On a B-side.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we call music video withdrawal, good sir. There is no cure.
I thought with this kind of song that we did, I thought, because we focus so much on Romania and we use the Romanian language, we wanted to basically pay our respects to the country by writing this particular song, taking a hat off because we're using so much of their language and, culture within the music that we've done so far and kind of will do in future. We thought it only fitting to base it on Romanian mythology. So, and I think this is a good way to do that. Something that's not necessarily metal, it's very kind of stripped back in a lot of ways and almost something anyone can listen to.
And go back to what we were talking about before in the press release and also what you were bringing up. We have to talk about this. There is going to be an album, so details, please and thank you.
All right,
please and thank you.
Zen. You say what you want to say.
Oh, and then
I'll
and then
ruin
you
it.
Details. Details.
I'll fill in the gaps.
So at the moment we've been working on obviously the album, and so ideally we're wanting to have the basis pretty much written by the end of the year. and going into next year recording everything. It's still quite a ways to go in terms of the process, but the structure for basically the album's done, and all the songs is pretty much done. We're just kind of filling in everything at the moment. I've still got a lot of work ahead of me to do, considering all the different vocal lines that we'll have throughout every single song. And so, yeah, next year will be primarily focused on everything Antiqva and kind of filling that out and finally recording the end product.
Yeah.
How different, Lindsay, is that to your schedule?
No, that's right. I'm really proud of you for like saying get it written before the end of the year without whinging, because I know that bothers you a lot. But like, we'll listen, you're not alone in your suffering. Like, we're all suffering through this together. I have to remind you. But it's
a band of suffering. It's a band of nothing but suffering and dreams.
If we're not suffering, we're doing something wrong. But yeah, I'd say half of the album is like, it's there. It's like, I'm proud of it. I mean, some of it has been around for 5 years, but like it's matured and it's just ready to be out there. It's like a delayed birth, being in labor for this long. It's a little bit painful. The other half is developing. And what you heard with Anadem Gyre, I feel like quite a few of those elements are going to poke through and have their moments on this album. So I'm super stoked about that. Definitely. We really know like what instrumentation we want to use, and we're trying to tastefully place everything everywhere. But yeah, it's more like, I really do feel for you, Zen. The lyrics are going to be a lot.
I mean, we have my vocals, we have Andy's vocals, we have Lindsay, then we have some Romanian kind of chanting, and then we also have kind of like a medieval choir kind of thing happening.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
Writing kind of lyrics for everything and then kind of working in Romanian to translate that, then translate it back is quite a process.
I've already asked Lindsay this question before on her first interview with me. So Zen, your turn. If you could be any cereal box character, who would you be? As Lindsay slowly dies inside.
I know who I think you should be, but that doesn't matter.
I have cereal box character. I don't even pay attention to these things.
See, he lives under a rock. So he never eaten cereal in his life.
To be fair, he's not the first person to answer the question like that. If you could be any cereal box character, who would you be?
Any?
Any
what?
Like a cereal mascot, essentially.
I have none that I can actually think of right now. I mean, I know certain characters like toucans and tigers and stuff like that, but I don't know names. I don't know what they refer to, or I'll take a rain check on that one.
Okay.
That's not fair. What did I say? Tom, do you remember?
Lindsay, I think your answer was along the lines of...
they're all annoying.
And then you finished off with...
Maybe Count Chocula, but then I'd be a dude. I guess they're all dudes.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go with that one because that one sounds...
That was what I was going to say.
That one sounds... But I don't know these people.
I'll Google it right now and send you a photo.
Yeah,
yes.
You'll have to educate me. Okay, I'm it's a cross between a witch and Nosferatu. Like, I mean, it's better than a toucan, right?
Yeah, really. Above anything else, it's better than a toucan and a unicorn. Yes.
There you go. You're doing okay.
All right. So, Lindsay, I do not have a third question for you, which again means that you have graduated to Metal Robot tenure. Congratulations. Enjoy your stay in the free drinks. But with that said, asterisk on the free drinks. But anyways, so guys, thanks so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You can find them anywhere on the internet. You can also check out the songs Funeral Crown, and I already forgot the name of the song, Anadem Gyre. Yeah. So you can check them out. They're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can find it. Guys, anything else you want to shout out?
Well, I guess thank you very much for everyone for the support, and for those that have especially been with us for the whole ride that from when Lindsay and I kind of announced this project. The support means a lot, and it's nice that people have so much faith in what we do, and And for all the new people, thank you very much for the support and checking out what we're doing at the moment. We really appreciate it. And hopefully it won't be too long before we have a full album to share with everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone who helped us make this music video possible. It was a big project. It really was. So thanks to them.
All right. And thanks again for coming on the show, guys. It's really is a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much, Tom.
That was Antiqva. Once again, Anadem Gyre. I'm whiskey drunk. I'm sorry. And Funeral Crown, once again, are everywhere. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button. And if you're new here, hit subscribe button, ring that fucking bell, or I'll send Lovecraftian dreams to you as well, so that we can all suffer eternally, externally, internally. And I'll see you in the mosh pit next time. Have a good night.